Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm so excited to introduce my guest today. I have Dr. Fabiana Claure, who creates financial and artistic prosperity for musicians so that they can win back their time and build a legacy without sacrificing their artistic dreams or family life. She's a pianist, a business strategist for musicians, and Fabiana was the founder and director of the University of North Texas Music Business and Entrepreneurship program for 5 years, where she helped hundreds of musicians create music businesses and got the program ranked among the top 15 music business schools in the US by Billboard magazine. She is now the founder and CEO of the Musicians Profit Umbrella, a global business mentorship program that helps musicians create thriving online music businesses that cross the 5 and even 6-figure mark in as little as 6 months. Hi, Fabiana. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you for having me.
So many of my clients are musicians. So I'm really excited to introduce you to my community and to talk about the work that you've been doing specifically around entrepreneurship, specifically targeted to musicians. So before we dive in, please tell us, what is your story? How did you end up doing the work that you do today?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love that question because it's almost like a challenge for me to practice being concise. There's always so many different elements of what we want to say. And I think, I'm going to give it my best shot. I always, have been being trained as a musician, grew up always playing the piano and thinking about just becoming the best artist that I could be and the best teacher that I could be. All my life, number one priority was being achieving excellence as a musician. And towards the end of my doctoral studies at the University of Miami, I started realizing that I needed to learn more about the business side of music and not just how to be a great pianist, but how to make a living, because no one really gave me that information. It was all about just being a good musician. So I started stepping out of what was already in my kind of curriculum, and I started branching out into business courses and learning about what it is to be an entrepreneur. And I started to discover there's so many similarities between what musicians need to learn and master in order to be great at our instruments and to be able to transfer those skills into business and entrepreneurship. And I started to see the similarities and I became really intrigued about it. So I took a bunch of courses. I then entered a business competition where all the other competitors were MBA candidates. And I was the only musician along with my husband. We were both pianists and we were the only musicians in the competition. And yet we got an amazing result. We won second prize, Best Entrepreneurial Spirit Award, Best Written Business Plan. We had a lot of support and mentorship along the way, but it basically catapulted us into becoming full-time entrepreneurs. As soon as I finished my doctoral degree, I had a job. I had created it. I didn't need someone to pick me. Unlike many of my colleagues who were only focused on becoming great musicians and polishing their resumes in hopes that by the time they get out of school, they were going to be magically rescued by some other organization that would hire them. I decided, my husband and I said, no, let's just build our own job. Let's create our own business. So we did. We created a music school called Superior Academy of Music that we've now owned for the last 11 years. And it was our first jump into being 100% entrepreneurs. And in fact, we actually hired many of our colleagues who were unemployed. They became part of our team. They became part of our faculty. So it was a great journey for 5 years. We grew the business. We learned how to manage it and learn how to, do all of the things that entrepreneurs need to do. It was a learning experience. And once again, I reached a plateau. I thought, oh, wow, okay. So I built a business. I was able to do all of this, but I knew I had more to offer. That's when the opportunity to come to the University of North Texas kind of fell on my lap. They were looking for a musician who could help other musicians build their businesses and who could teach them the ins and outs on what was needed to succeed in the arts. So I decided to jump in and they appointed me director of the program. And at that point, my husband and I had to restructure our music school to leave it in Florida while we moved to Texas with our 2-year-old son at the time. So that was another learning experience because, most of our mentors thought we were crazy to just leave our school and move away. And so we just decided to go for it. And the first year was a lot of trial and error. And we had to really figure out how to make it work effectively. But after that, for the last 5 years, 6 years now, not only has it survived in our absence, but it has grown even more than when we were there full-time running it. So that has also been an awakening for me to help musicians, not just build a business, but build a business that can potentially be self-led at some point and continue growing profitably without depending on them all the time. And so after 5 years of running the program at the University of North Texas and helping musicians build their businesses, I once again reached a plateau. It's funny because these things seem to happen every 5 years in my life. I realized there are potentially more musicians out there that need what I can offer outside of the university. And so I started building my online program where I could help musicians outside of the university. Anyone who wanted to work with me, I was now available. I packaged my skills and I created an online business. Little did I know that a couple months in, we would be hit with a global pandemic where thousands and millions of musicians were all of a sudden having their world turned upside down. And that really led me to really lean in and go all in into my business. And after the first year, I decided to quit my full-time job. And I'm now 100% running my online program, the Musician's Profit Umbrella, which is all around helping musicians package their skills into an online business, either through teaching, through coaching, and really developing that autonomy to be able to quit their jobs if they want to, or restructure what they've been doing. So many musicians are dragging things in their life that no longer serve them, and they don't understand how they can build a business that can become really a gift to their lives. So that's what I'm doing now.
What an incredible story. And that actually leads me perfectly into my next question for you, which is, what are some of the main things that you see holds musicians back from really succeeding and thriving?
Yeah, I'm in the process of writing a book right now. And I was just writing about this in the chapter that I'm in. I'm on chapter 6. I've got 3 more to go. And I think one of the biggest things is the sense of not feeling that they can design their life. It's feeling that they have to just take what was given to them. And in many ways, I think it's a result of the upbringing. The way we're trained is that we always have to conform to someone else's standards. For example, when we're becoming, going through the different levels, we have to take examinations, we have to prepare for auditions. Someone has to give us that vote of confidence that we're on the right track, that we are going from this level to the next level. And it's always up to someone else to determine, in a way, our worthiness. So when it comes to transferring that into the business, musicians jump out of school, jump out of universities, waiting for someone to give them permission to do things or to tell them, you can come here, you can do this, you can't do this, you can't go there. And so this becomes a bit of the mindset block that they don't realize that they could actually choose their prices. They can choose who they want to work with, who their clients are. They don't have to just work with any clients. They can choose how to work. They don't have to just be giving away all their money, all their time in exchange for money, meaning being stuck in the one-on-one model. They can package their skills more strategically. They can just design their businesses however they want. That is usually a big breakthrough that when I work with musicians for the first time, is something that they're like, what? What do you mean I can create my life by design versus by default? So that's, usually one of the first things that I really love being able to help musicians switch that.
That's amazing. Yeah. And essentially what you're talking about is like making that mindset shift of being a service provider to really being an entrepreneur and, really bringing that creativity, which musicians have so much of, right, into the way that they're doing business and their skills in business. So can you talk to me a little bit about like that transition, like seeing your clients make that transition? Like what are some of the most important sort of mindset shifts or identity shifts that allow musicians to really let go of those structures or ways of thinking that have maybe been holding them back in their creative careers to really tapping into more freedom and more abundance?
Yeah, one of the things that for me has really helped me in my personal journey, I found myself in many occasions kind of fragmented. I had my role as a university educator. I was a mother of 2. I am a mother of 2. I was a wife, and I'm a wife, and I was the owner of a music school which was running successfully remotely. I'm a pianist, and I just didn't feel the cohesive unity among everything. I didn't understand how to integrate my creativity with the activities that were profit producing, and just to kind of sort all of that out. And it felt like I was being split in a million different directions and I wasn't making enough money, right? So it really took me to have like a series of breakthroughs that gave me the sense of actually when we unite everything that we do and we build a brand, we unite all our skills and package it in a way where people can understand very clearly what sets us apart, then we can actually build a business around that. And everything else that we do in our lives, whether we're affiliated with a university or with another institution, we have this side gig or this other thing, just comes underneath it. But we develop this unique brand identity that can be monetized, and it makes us really easy to stand out and to communicate what we're about, who we're here to serve, and how we can help. And so for me, that's been one of the most important things, is to help musicians realize that less is more in a way. When we start seeing ourselves as the combination of all of our skills and uniting it under a very clear message, then we can actually make a lot more money and not feel that we have to depend on all these other activities. We can still do our creative work. We can still go out and perform. We can still do our teaching. We can do whatever. We want to release an album. It's all good. But we're not depending on those side activities in order to create our livelihood. They can be side incomes. They can be, passive incomes even. But building an online brand and packaging it in a way where you can transfer your experience and help others through teaching, through coaching in an online way, in my view, has been the game changer. When I did that and I built my Musicians Profit Umbrella, everything changed. All of a sudden, I understood how my role as a mother, how my role as a university professor, how my role as a pianist, as an entrepreneur, as a university, all these things came together and allowed me now to serve musicians and give them everything that I have. But they know specifically what I do for them based on that cumulative experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think, like every artist has their inner teacher, and like finding the way for both of those parts of you to thrive, like only brings more strength to the other part of you. So I would love to hear about how you've had all of the success in business. How have you balanced that with your artistic expression as a musician alongside that?
Yes, that's a great question. And here's what happened. For a significant period of my life, especially during these last 10 years, I struggled with that. It wasn't easy because I didn't understand the relationship between my side as a musician and my side as a business person, right? I would always feel that I had to prioritize the work I was doing running my business or the work that I was doing running the university program. And I struggled to understand how my piano performances and the concerts that I was giving would kind of blend into all of that. So guess what? When you don't understand how something can impact your life, you put it to the back burner. That's just the way it is. And so for many years, I felt like I wasn't really active creatively. I was just leaving that in the back burner. But then again, when I put it all under the umbrella philosophy, I realized that in fact, my artistic interests, my performing side, all the concerts that I'm giving, actually fuel my brand. They allow me to create even more visibility and more magnetism to my clients, who are all musicians themselves. And it's actually, now I see it as an integral part of my business. So I just gave a concert a couple months ago for the first time since the pandemic, a live performance in the Charleston International Piano Series. My husband and I went there and we performed our duo program. And it felt so wonderful to be able to bring my community in that journey with me, and to know that even though I'm not coaching musicians specifically, I'm still serving them as a way of modeling the life that we can create for ourselves, where we get to pick the performances that we want. We don't depend on the income only about how much time we're spending on stage, but we get to be in a position of power to choose. We can choose which gigs to take and which ones to say no to. Why? Because we've built an online brand. And so for me now, it all has finally come together after many, many years of not understanding. Now it all makes sense. And now when I sit at the piano, I feel like I'm actually working on my business. It doesn't really matter whether I'm playing for free or I'm playing for a really good paid honorarium, whatever. I know that everything that I do now from my artistic side is actually part of my business.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing this, because I know that like you being able to share your story from where you're at to people who are kind of figuring it out, like it just creates so much clarity that I think can bring so much peace when you're in that like figuring out process and wondering, and feeling that pull as so many creatives do, who are so good at so many different things and genuinely enjoy doing so many different things, and trying to figure out like, where should I put my time and attention and energy? Like what's more important? So I would love to hear a bit more on what you think and what you see are some of the differences and some of the similarities between your work in your coaching business and then your work as a professional musician and the music industry.
Yeah, well, I think entrepreneurship, in fact, I don't know if you know this, I always like sharing this when I'm interviewed. The earliest definition of an entrepreneur in the Oxford English Dictionary was actually defined as someone who puts up musical performances, believe it or not.
Oh,
That was the earliest definition of entrepreneur. If you look at it in the Oxford 1897 or something, it was someone who creates, who initiates, especially musical performances. So for me, it's when I discovered that and I started learning about all the similarities. What do entrepreneurs need to do? They need to quickly adapt in real time to circumstances. They need to be able to be flexible and just try things without a guarantee of success. Well, guess what? Musicians need to do the same thing. When we're on stage, when we're performing, sometimes things go great on stage, sometimes things don't go great. Can we just say, cut, let's try again, all over again? No, you have to keep going, right? And so I think our ability to be responsive and reactive and adapt in real time to things that are thrown our way is something that has served us really well in becoming creatives, becoming entrepreneurs, because these are things that go hand in hand with being a musician or any sort of creative, really, especially those who have live performance component to that, their creativity, and being an entrepreneur. It is a well-known fact that your ability to tolerate risk is going to determine the ability for you to succeed in your business. This is something that I've learned from all of the people I've interacted with over these years. One of the key components in their mindset and their personality that has brought them to where they are was their ability to step into the unknown and to just test things and to be okay with the possibility that things may not necessarily work out the way they want to, and to be willing to try anyway. And those who get stuck, who get frustrated, usually it's because they're not willing to take those risks. They're wanting to really hold on to that safety. And in music, you can't learn an instrument. You can't stand on stage and play if you want a guarantee of an outcome. You can't. It's not going to work out. You have to be able to, first of all, learn quickly and adapt and be always in this beginner's mindset. As soon as you master a piece of music, guess what? Now you're going to learn a new piece of music. You're starting from scratch all over again. And you need to little by little decodify all the different elements and become better. And it's also about consistency and repetition. And what happens in entrepreneurship, that's also the key to success. It's so tempting as an entrepreneur to be wanting to try new things all the time. I'm sure you've probably found yourself in that situation where, well, this didn't work. Now let me try this other thing. Oh, this didn't work. Now let me try this other thing. And we're always trying to just test. But at the end of the day, when you're able to stick to the foundations and be consistent and committed to repeating them over and over and over again so that you develop mastery of certain elements, then that's when you'd really get ahead, when you're able to stay focused. You're not just testing, starting over every single time. And so in music, it's the same thing. In order for us to achieve that proficiency of our musical craft, we have to stick with the basics and be, dedicated and committed and focused and be okay with repetition.
Amazing. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom with us on the show today. Please, can you tell everybody what have you got going on? Where can they find you if they're interested in learning more about working with you and what you do?
Oh, absolutely. Well, part of what I do and what I love about being an online entrepreneur is that I share a lot of value. I have a lot of free content on my website, fabiannaclaure.com. You can probably see it in the show notes because my name is a little tricky to spell, FABIANACLAURE.com. And I also have a great resource that I would love to share with your community if anyone is interested. One of the biggest challenges that I see creatives struggle with is how to put all of this together in a unified sense of identity. They're like, but I do this and I do that. And how can I really put it all into an umbrella? That makes it's so challenging to think. So I have a really great training that is really all about how to package your skills and your creative skills into an online business. And I've actually learned, and I love sharing the simplified nature of it, where it's all on a single sheet of paper. I call it my musician's business model canvas. So in the training, I show you how to put it in a very, very simple way, where at the end of the training, you walk away with a whole business on a single sheet of paper. And so I love sharing that training, which you can access on my website as well, fabiannaclaray.com/gift. And that's a free training for anyone who's interested in learning how to do this.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. Thank you, everybody, for listening in, and have an amazing rest of your day.
Thank you, Sarah. Love talking to you.
For more inspirational content, head over to my website withsarahmac.com and please support the show by liking, commenting, and subscribing.